Faced with the very possible loss of their culture and the loss of their land, the people of Kahkewistahaw came under scrutiny for not being productive farmers or ranchers. This was stated in a letter from a local bishop in 1920 to the federal agencies.
They are, though left alone by us and still pagans, a very respectable band, steady and industrious. They've been on that reserve, or in that district, for about 50 years. Most of them perhaps have been born there, and they love their home. The Indian Department is supposed to be anxious to have the Indians take greater interest in farming, and to complain that they do not farm more. Surely, to seize all the best of the farming land in one reserve after another is not the way to encourage them to be farmers. But this seems to be Mr. Graham's method lately.
This debate lasted for many years, and in 1939, Canada's own officials had realized the serious injustice it had inflicted upon Kahkewistahaw 32 years earlier.
In the past, I believe we have rather unwisely given consent to the surrender of Indian lands, when, as a matter of fact, having in mind future development and requirements, such lands should have been retained for Indian use.
Having the early knowledge of tainted dealings done in 1907, the government of Canada should have pursued this matter further, yet it did not. It wasn't until a few decades after this realization that First Nations governments and organizations had taken it upon themselves to investigate.
These two individuals, along with other senior officials in government, set out to acquire Indian lands. They set up a scheme to do so.
The Indian people and the Federation of Saskatchewan Indians have always been highly critical of the Office of Native Claims, and I share that.
It wasn't until the 70s when Chief Louis Tapetat and the people of Kahkewistahaw set out to reacquire the land that was unscrupulously and unlawfully stolen so long ago. 2 full-scale land claims were now underway.
When this land in 1907 was taken from us, it had done a lot of damage to us.
The land claim started about in 1976.
We didn't have any money to start with when we started this claim back in the 70s. And lucky enough that we had made the deal with the lawyer that he would do it on a percentage base if it was good enough to go ahead and do it. After a month went by, a second month I think it was, and he phoned me one day and he said that he was prepared to take it on. He figures that there's something there for our First Nation, and that's how we got going. There was a lot of groundwork done prior to that in regards to interviewing the elders of this First Nation, but other First Nations that had knew about the claims. And how I got involved in it was from one chief that was chief for a long, long time, and he comes from the north, and told me about our claim. And he said for me to look into it, that there could be something there when you have done your work.
The work continued and continued and continued. We were able to make our claims and then submit them to Ottawa, hoping that land claims would come back and say, yes, we have a good claim, that it would be accepted and we would proceed towards a settlement agreement.
It's a long process for you, and then you have to have the right people doing it. It's not, it just doesn't happen that way. You got to have connections to people that can do that, and there's a lot of work to it.
You're all hyped up, and then all of a sudden, bang! You're just shifted to another mode that makes you so angry, because all the hard work that you put together is somehow not satisfactory to the government.
Yeah, and sometimes you run up against some stumbling blocks, and and then you got to take another run at it and do another route. And that's what we went through here.
Sometimes I look at my grandchild, who's 2 years old today, what what's its future going to be? What's its future?